Pigeons are an extremely abundant and remarkably diverse group of birds. They come in every size and shape imaginable, from the tiny namaqua dove weighing in at only 40 grams to the massive, now extinct dodo bird, which stood nearly a meter tall and weighed 20 kilograms. Recently, research has shown that these birds also show considerable variation in the shapes of their primary feathers. This striking diversity of feather shape is baffling considering that all these feathers are presumably used in the same way to get a bird off the ground and flying. Typically, animals that tend to share the same form of locomotion tend to have similar body shapes, allowing them to perform that form of movement. For example, swifts and swallows, which are distantly related, have similar wing morphologies adapted for catching insects while flying. But in the pigeons, which are all very closely related, we see drastically different feather shapes in species that live and fly in very similar ways. This got scientists thinking, why are these feathers shaped in such odd ways? What do these odd feather shapes do? After some very clever sleuthing, we're beginning to realize that many of these feathers produce unique sounds as air rushes over them. These sounds can be very loud and can even change pitch as the bird is flying. We now believe that pigeons may be using these sounds to communicate during flight. This would really help pigeons because they're bad singers, and these sounds could supplement their weak voices. In one particular species of pigeon native to Australia, scientists discovered that the birds were capable of producing different sounds with their wings when they were taking off normally versus when they were taking off in response to a predator. The scientists also discovered that other members of the flock listened for particular differences in the sounds and were capable of judging whether or not they should flee as well. This is the first example in nature of an animal using its wings to produce an alarm signal. To make things even more exciting, we believe that many other species of animals are also listening to these alarm signals and interpreting information from them. Listen for yourself. Which of these two birds is taking off in response to a predator, and which one is taking off normally? Without knowing anything about this species or the sounds they normally produce, anyone can interpret these effectively. Innately, we know that the second bird was taking off in alarm compared to the first bird. Here in Enashiva, we wanted to know what kinds of animals might be listening to pigeon wing sounds. We found that spiny mice would flee whenever they heard the sounds of a pigeon taking off in alarm, just like they flee in response to the call of a predator, like an auger buzzard. So, if spiny mice and humans can interpret these sounds, what does that say for the rest of our local wildlife? Presumably, any animal with ears is capable of listening to these sounds, and theory suggests that they should pay attention and respond to them if it might help them survive. So in the daily battle for survival on the savanna, it's possible that every animal is listening to the flight sounds of pigeons and interpreting information from them. Further research and playback experiments may shed more light on this new and unusual communication mechanism.